The views expressed by the host of this podcast are not opinion-based or for entertainment purposes. They are actually facts and truth, no matter if other people like it or not. It is the Detroit sports truth, and nothing can ever stop it from being correct.
Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to episode 198 of the Detroit Sports Truth on Spreaker, the show that actually gets it right instead of just being honest with opinions. Please share this podcast on all social media networks, and thanks very much. I'm Taylor Phillips. I'm live from my basement apartment office in the northern outskirts of McBain, Michigan, and with me on Facebook Messenger audio, as always, is my co-host, Ed Smith. Thanks so much for being on here with me. How are you?
Doing fine, Taylor. Reporting live from the intense, snazzy confines of Stone Mountain, Georgia. I am up, ready to go. It's been an eventful day, and I'm ready to get to it.
All right. Tonight we're going to talk about plenty of Tigers, including pitchers and catchers reporting. They signed a minor league relief pitcher, an impressive one, and some broadcasting news in the Tigers organization. We'll also talk about some Lions roster moves, including Rasheed Mathis retiring, and the team cutting 3 players, and what Haloti Ngata plans to do. We'll recap the Red Wings and Penguins, and lay down a little bit of statistics for you, as well as the Pistons making another trade before the 3 p.m. deadline, and their upcoming games as they return to action from the All-Star break. And finally, some college basketball before 5 questions. Let's start this off with the Tigers.
That one is long gone.
So pitchers and catchers reported this past Thursday, as I just mentioned. Closing pitcher Francisco Rodriguez had a flight delay, which was caused by another visa issue, because he's from Venezuela. And my dad told me that Venezuelans don't really like Americans. It's not really a racism issue, but anyway, for some reason, Venezuelans have problems with Americans. That's what he told me, but Francisco Rodriguez has had the same type of visa issue while reporting to spring training camp with the pitchers and catchers. He almost always arrives late due to that type of delay. So if fans are really panicked about that, they should read Chris Ayatt's issue. They should read Chris Ayatt's article from MLive.com that it has happened to Francisco Rodriguez a few times before.
Yeah, not just Chris Ayatt's article, but just also do some minor research. There's been articles from ESPN, MLB.com, as well as the Brewers SB Nation website, brewcrewball.com. Rodriguez had on 2 separate, both these times this type of thing happened to Rodriguez during his tenure with the Milwaukee Brewers. Once in 2014, of course, once last year. Both of those were eventually settled out in little to no time. Yes, he was a little bit late, but the important thing was he was able to report to spring training and get things on board and get accustomed to what was going on with his teammates. So I'm sure the same thing will happen here. It may be a bit of a process, but the getting J.D. Martinez a new deal. That was a process, and we weren't pulling our hair out or running around like the building was on fire for that. So I think they should just take their time with this one, wait it out. Might be a few days, maybe a week, maybe even 2. But as long as he's there, gets himself adjusted, gels in with his teammates good enough, he'll be there eventually. It's just a process of waiting things out. That's all.
Absolutely. It's just not that big of a deal because it's happened to Rodriguez before. All sorts of articles are coming out about this, but it's nothing big. So
it could be a recurring annoyance, but it's just nothing too major.
Right. So moving on here, the Tigers have recently signed 100-mile-per-hour minor league relief pitcher from the New York Mets, Bobby Parnell, to a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. First spring training game is at Joker Marchant Stadium in Lakeland, Florida, against the Pittsburgh Pirates at 1:05. It can be listened to on 97.1 The Ticket, online at 971theticket.com, and on the CBS local app in Detroit on 97.1 The Ticket. But talking about Bobby Parnell, he's got a 100-mile-an-hour pitching arm, a fastball, and the Tigers haven't had a 100-mile-an-hour pitching arm from a relief pitcher since Joel Zumaya, and right now he's in the minors.
There was also Brian Villarreal too. They tried that out.
Oh yeah,
that experiment didn't end so well.
That's right. Yep, but Parnell's ERA in the minors was like 6.28 or something like that. 6.28 or something like that.
Yeah, he had a whip of he had an ERA of 6.38 when he was with the Mets last year.
Thank you
Yikes.
very much.
And also a whip that's walks and hits allowed during innings per pitch. That was 1.96. Also yikes. Things to consider though. To his benefit, he was coming off of Tommy John surgery from 2014. So that was just, I guess, his way of working things back into it. It's so in this instance, it's not a deal that could be a backbreaker, but it could be a hidden gem as well. He was putting up, I would say, some decent numbers. 2013 was probably one of, if not his best year. He had an ERA 2.16. His whip was a solid 1. They're hoping more for 2013 for him, especially now since he's had a lot more time to recover and hopefully rejuvenate any of the good stuff they had from 2013 prior to his Tommy John surgery. If it works out, hey, you just add a good solid arm to your bullpen, and that's always an added plus with this team. If not, it's minor irritants, but you still have other guys that can fill that void and hopefully improve on the bullpen. That's been absolute Achilles heel for his team in recent years. So it's really low risk, high reward with this thing, with this signing here. If it works, wonderful. If not, oh well.
Right, but I think that if he starts improving from his previous ERA and his previous whip of 196, his ERA 6.38, like you just mentioned. Thanks for the correction on that one. If he improves, then he may have a shot to make the majors.
Yeah, we got to see how he does in the minors. I mean, he wasn't lighting the world on fire per se. In fact, he was outright terrible during his time in the minors with the Mets last year, posting ERAs of 10.8 and 12.27 respectively, for A+ and AA. Whip was absolutely atrocious. So it's those things that you gotta hope that really decreases, goes down. As ERA and Whip goes down, production goes up for pitchers these days. So again, if he does well enough in the minors, I got no problem bringing him up to the majors because when you have a bullpen that needs help, you can never have enough arms. It's like being a team in the NFL. You can never have enough running backs. Well, in baseball, you can never have enough arms for a bullpen.
That's right. The Tigers may need an extra bullpen enforcer. I mean, they already have Mark Lowe, Francisco Rodriguez, who will be at spring training soon eventually. Don't worry, guys. And they got Justin Wilson in the mix. Justin Wilson, Mark Lowe, and Francisco Rodriguez, 7, 8, 9 inning relief pitchers. But they also got Blaine Hardy and company. I think their bullpen has already improved, but adding Bobby Parnell to the equation is a bonus, and that's also needed.
It gives help to your middle bullpen. I mean, you basically have your back end set up with Wilson, Lowe, and Rodriguez. Now you just got to figure out on making sure your middle portion is adequate to get you towards your late inning guys. Whether it be Parnell or maybe this could be an incentive to Bruce Rondon to get his act together. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have a 1-2 combo of those guys to alternate every few days or so. But I will say this: you can have all the 100, 102, 103 mile per hour fastballs all you want, but if you don't have the proper control, the proper pitching, to place those balls in the right areas to get called strikes or real difficult to hit pitches, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Brian Villarreal had a great fastball, but he was so wild and so inconsistent. He kept walking. I forgot. I remember at least once or twice he walked home the game-winning run. Those things will kill you, especially if you're a relief pitcher. Your job as a relief pitcher to keep the guys off base and keep runs off the board as much as possible, especially when you're taking over guys. So, like I said, you can have as fast a fastball as you want, but if you don't have the proper control, proper set of pitches, proper backup go-to pitches as well, it ain't going to be diddly squat. So, again, like I mentioned, low risk, high reward. We'll see how it works out.
Yep. So, with that out of the way, we have another topic to discuss in terms of Tigers. The play-by-play announcers, Dan Dickerson and Mario Impemba, will switch gigs from TV to radio and radio to TV for at least 10 games, maybe 12, 15 to 20. That was a source that was from a source published by Lynn Henning of the Detroit News, of all people. By the way, I want to thank Miranda Shea McCoy, for listening in. A sweetheart she is. She's also a fan of the Detroit Sports Rag. She liked my tweet with the link to our podcast just about now. Thank you very much, Miranda. If you have any feedback, just leave a comment on here. But anyway, Dickerson and Impemba are switching from radio to TV and TV to radio. Mike Ilitch, the owner, encouraged that occasional flip-flop, according to multiple sources. A year after he decided to add Kirk Gibson and Jack Morris as analysts in a bid to freshen telecasts with two former Tiger stars, quote unquote. We all know Mario Impemba. He started in 2002 on TV with the Tigers after being the Angels' chief radio broadcaster previously. And then you got Dan Dickerson coming on the radio as Ernie Harwell's backup play-by-play from 2000 to 2002. And then he became the primary play-by-play radio guy in 2003. And since then, he has stayed in that position. So it's going to be interesting to experience Mario Mpemba and Jim Price on the radio, and Dan Dickerson and either Rod Allen, Jack Morris, or Kirk Gibson on television on Fox Sports Detroit. So, Ed, got anything to say about that?
I could see this as being an experimental thing at the very least, like especially when they're not even firmly set on the whole. Will it be 10 games? Will it be 12? Will it be 20? That type of thing. They're going to be testing this out, see how it goes on the fly, if you want to call it that. I actually do like Dan Dickerson on the radio. It'll be interesting to see how that translates to TV. Should be not too difficult. It's you like on radio, your face is not being shown as much. Slightly increased because you got to do a presentation when you're on TV, but still, you're just calling the game. Said there'll just be more cameras on you. I like Dan's voice. I think he does a great presentation. Sure thing. I do think you could be just a little bit more critical, but on certain things in the team. But I do think he's more critical than say Mario Mpemba is. I like Mario as well. I think he has great excitement to his calls. He's not an absolute bore. But, I just rarely do I ever see him or for his partner, Rod Allen, for that matter, criticize the team or practically anything. If they ever do, it's they're a day late and a dollar short, essentially. But we'll see how it works out. Maybe, like I say, if this has any moderate success, it could incline the team to increase, like you said, increase the number of games potentially. So we'll see how that one goes from there.
Obbs just commented on our podcast and asked how many games you expect the Tigers to win this season.
I think that it'll be just enough. I'd say between 88 to 90, maybe 91, 92. I'd say a range of 88 to 92. It would definitely, especially with 92, get them in a good position for a possible wild card spot. I'm just not so sure how it'll be enough to win the AL Central because, like I said, KC, the Royals have they're the toast of the town now, essentially, especially now coming off of two consecutive trips to the World Series and a World Series title. So all the focus will be on them on the AL Central for once. So if they can strike up a similar season, they'll have no trouble repeating as AL Central Division champions, which leaves a spot open for the wild card. Now, with this Tigers team, they are far, far too talented and have too much damn money on the payroll to miss the playoffs a second year in a row. I understand weird things happen, injuries, players not performing up to the level, but when you have this talent, this payroll, making the playoffs is a necessity because you never know what can happen in the postseason. You can catch hot, you can catch fire, you can turn to cold ice. With this team, the way they're talented, the way they're put together, they could string along a run. They could win a World Series if they want to. So all this matters is getting to there first and foremost. And if you can make it in as a wild card, so be it. I would take it. You would hope to rather just, earn a wild card and avoid the play-in game. But, hey, if you get in, you get in. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good predicted range. I still think as for now, the Royals will win another American League Central Division title, unless the Tigers make a surprise appearance back to the top.
Well, it's gonna come down to their pitching. That's all it's gonna come down to. They have enough offensive capability, especially now the fact that they've added Justin Upton, where their offense will help them score and win a lot of games. It's just going to come down to their pitching. Can Justin Verlander show us more of what we saw in the second half of 2015, or will it be the regression that we saw, in the first half, like I guess you could say since late 2014 up to the second half of 2015? What about Sanchez not only remain healthy but remain consistent? How will Jordan Zimmerman perform with his new contract? There's a lot of question marks regarding the arms of this team. That's just the starting rotation. We haven't even talked about how will the team adjust to having the new members on the bullpen? Can they come in and immediately contribute and help this team close out games and avoid giving the fans many near scares and heart attacks as possible? So that's going to be one big question mark that could be grouped into one thing. Is how well can this team's pitching be? And if it's great, hey, they got a great shot of winning the Central Division, as does the Royals. If it's good, they can at least still get into the playoffs. So the goal for the bullpen is, to be a vast improvement from the trash that we've seen in years past and get this team in a good position to not just get in the playoffs, but possibly make a deep run.
All right. I love the analysis. That's great. Excellent analysis, actually. So with all the Tigers news out of the way, we're going to move into the Lions now.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
It was earlier announced this week that cornerback Rashean Mathis announced his retirement, which leaves an open spot for a cornerback in the cornerback area. And Ed Hughes suggested that Carolina Panthers cornerback Cortland Finnegan should come to Detroit. You asked me if he was if he was available. I said yes. He is a UFA according to SpotTrack.com. His 1 year, $870,000 contract expired. And he only made $255,882 of it, and $172,058 was his cap hit, according to SpotTrack. I wonder. I mean, he's. If we look up on NFL.com, his statistics defensively, Ed, I believe you have the analysis on Cortland Finnegan.
Let's see. In terms of Cortland Finnegan, what I do know, first and foremost, he has attitude. He has, I guess, and that can work as both a positive and a negative. He is known, especially during this time with the Tennessee Titans, to have certain instances where he gets into confrontations and or even fights on the field with players. With Finnegan, other than that, though, he's had some very good, I would say, adequate average, adequate production numbers. 18 interceptions, 5 forced fumbles, 4 defensive touchdowns over the course of his career. He's even had 7 sacks with the quarterback. He is a little bit older. He is 32, and believe it or not, he had just come out of retirement last year. He wasn't even signed to a team until November, when he actually signed a deal with the Carolina Panthers as the now reigning NFC champion Carolina Panthers, who just played in the Super Bowl. He did get 4 tackles in the game at least, and Carolina's lost to the Broncos. But like I said, he has not just good athletic ability to do multiple things. He can play cornerback as well as free safety, which could help you out in this instance since Rashean Mathis retired. He also, like I said, has that attitude about him where it could help generate positive motivation for the team, but it can also it can also help generate negative energy and attention from cynics and critics. So it's a double-edged sword, but I'll be honest, this Finnegan was a guy that I wanted the Lions to get when he first became a free agent. I want to say in 2012, I think, because remember, he did play in Tennessee, and during his tenure in Tennessee, Jim Schwartz was his defensive coordinator. When he became a free agent from Tennessee, I wanted the Lions to pick him up because of the obvious connection to Jim Schwartz. That's how they picked up. I forget picking up his name. It's coming to me. Taylor, what was the guy who played for Tennessee? He was a defensive end, bald head, goatee, looked like a modified version of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It slips my name at the moment, but he played for the Titans. Jim Schwartz was on his doorstep, essentially, the night in free agency in 2010. Whenever you got a chance, just look up that name for me. But you get my point. Tennessee Titans connections. I thought, hey, maybe the Lions could pick him up to reunite with Jim Schwartz. Didn't work out. He decided to instead sign with the Rams, where he was reunited with his former coach, Jeff Fisher. After a couple of years, he was let go from St. Louis, and then, of course, had a brief stint with the Dolphins, where of course, he announced his retirement. Now he came back with the Panthers, had a productive season. He is now, and now here he is as an unrestricted free agent again. Now the question is, will he be offered any options from any teams? And if so, will it be the amount of money, the amount of playing time, whatever the case may be? But if he doesn't get that much attention, does he consider retirement again? Especially in this day and age now, where we're seeing now loads of talented players now, more and more of them retire before they hit a certain age. Like most of these guys, they hit 30 and then they're like, boom, I'm done. You could be seeing that right now with Calvin Johnson. This guy's 32 and he already had a retirement. So you have to wonder if that's still lingering in the back of his mind for a little bit. So on the Lions, I tried to strike while the iron is hot, while he still feels a little bit motivated to play, in a sense, because now you need it, because you need some help to help replace a spot in your defense, because not only is Rasheed Mathis gone, but so is apparently James Ahedegbo.
Hey Ed, what position did you say that Titans player played again?
I believe he was a defensive end.
The only defensive end on the only defensive end on the Titans roster is Ropati Petoitua.
Nah, this dude, he was signed to the Lions from 2010 to, I want to say, 2012, 2013. He was signed to the Lions the same year that they drafted Sue.
Oh, yeah. Darn it, I can't remember that either. Who does he play for now?
I think he might be retired now. I'm not so sure. I do know. I don't know what else happened after he and the Lions parted ways. I am trying to find who that player is right now. And
yeah, if anybody else can help us, that would be great. You're saying he retired now, huh?
I'm guessing. I'm not so sure because I haven't heard much of him since he and the Lions parted ways.
That was...
there it is. I found it. Kyle Vanden Bosch. That was the name I was looking for.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I could have sworn it was him.
Yeah, and I recognized the face. Just the name had escaped me at the moment. So he is, like I mentioned, I guess correctly, he is currently retired. He was released from the Lions in 2013. Hasn't played a down of football since. So, that was the connection I was trying to make from Vanden Bosch to Cortland Finnegan.
Yeah, you just mentioned James Ahedegbo was released along with Stephen Tulloch. So they cut two great players from this Lions team, including Stephen Tulloch, which created $6 million extra in cap space this year. The cap hit was $7 million, so the differential was $1 million that was left before they cut Tulloch. But I think the Lions are trying to make up as much cap space money as they possibly can, cutting Tulloch and Ahedegbo.
Yeah, that could be a reason as well. Because in the case of Ahedegbo, maybe they feel that Issa Abdul Quddus, who I think seeing what he had done in some parts last season, they feel he's ready to take over now. And plus the fact that he is 6 years younger, give the young man the reins now and just move on from a headed bow. Now, with Tulloch, I can kind of see coming because while he has been consistent and racking up 100-plus tackles per season, he has not been very good at almost, if at all, in terms of coverage. It was plus he was also coming back from ACL surgery because remember he did blew out his knee celebrating a sack of Aaron Rodgers. We tried to mock the discount double check dance and he blew his friggin' knee out. So if you can say instant karma, there's an example right there. But he did come back from that. He did manage, once again, another 100-plus tackle season. But if you're the Lions, you see guys like DeAndre Levy, and you think, okay, we need a guy who can do more than just tackle. We need a guy that can do coverage as well. Go at the quarterback sometimes if necessary. Really scout, look at the QB's eyes to see where he's going, and lock onto a target. Like, for instance, what we saw, an example, what Von Miller did on a play in the Super Bowl. We're moving towards that type of linebacker now in today's NFL. So, since what the Lions have done, not only has it freed up cap space, but it's opened up a spot to where that spot, in my opinion, could possibly be filled this offseason, whether it be in the draft, if somehow by some miracle a guy like Miles Jack from UCLA, he falls down to 16. Even though I would really prefer to see the Lions maybe go after a defensive lineman or so, whether it be Karan Reed, Robert Nkemdiche, fingers crossed. Primarily as a run stopper, so you can see guys like Ezekiel Ansah and Devin Taylor, who had a breakout season of his own last year, just let loose on the ends and rush the quarterback almost at will if you had that run stopper plugging up the middle. Whereas with linebacker, like I mentioned before, Miles Jack, he could fall if by some chance he falls down. Yes, I would take him. But also you got to figure now, with all these moves that the Lions are making, you just mentioned cap space. They're freeing up $6 million. They're freeing up $6 million right here alone with Tulloch. They could be getting at least 10, 11 million freed up by Calvin Johnson's potential retirement. That alone is $17, $18 million right there. Not to mention what else could be coming off the books. Other guys leaving and or retiring. I headed Bo, Rasheed Mathis, Joy Bell. All those little roster moves add up. And if you're talking about a spot where the Lions could have $20, $25 million of cap space, hey, I'd say go for it. Roll the dice and try and see if you can learn Von Miller here. I mean, granted, it's going to be tough because I'm sure that's going to be the number one priority for Denver this offseason. Yes, even more so than getting a new quarterback, they need to re-sign Von Miller. Because some people expect that, okay, he's going to get some attention from teams coming because he'll be a UFA anyway. But now add on the fact that he is a newly crowned, not just Super Bowl champion, but a Super Bowl MVP. You saw what kind of effect he had single-handedly in that game against the Panthers. He forced 2 fumbles that directly led to 2 touchdowns, which was essentially the scoring difference in the game. So if you can have that type of player on your defense, that alone takes your defense from a 6 or 7 to at least a 9, if not a 10. So if I'm the Lions, hey, if I got enough money on me, I go after him. I take a shot and to see how it goes. So that'll be my thoughts on how one way you could perform, you can improve this Lions defense. Because really, the issue is not the offense. Even if Calvin Johnson retires, you still have Matthew Stafford, you still have Golden Tate, you still have Amir Abdullah, who's a development guy, you still have Theo Riddick. Okay, you got guys that it's there offensively. If your tight ends can get their stuff together, that's boom. You just added another weapon offensively. So you're set offense. You just got to make sure you have a good enough offensive line. Whereas defense, you need defensive linemen, you need linebackers, you need some secondary help. So the focus for the Lions this offseason to improve your defense. They tried to do the same thing with their offensive line the past couple of years. Didn't really have that much success, but I admire the effort. They need to plug that same effort now into their defense. And it starts potentially with getting another pass rusher, whether it be in the draft from selecting a defensive lineman or getting an all-around absolute beast in Von Miller.
Yeah, Von Miller is the answer to most of this defense. And Lions early this week cut ties with center Manny Ramirez. He was an offensive lineman as well. Speaking of which, and Obbs commented again, first priority has got to be fixing that offensive line. But as you mentioned, their defense has to be fixed as well. But it's both really as a whole for the Lions. Manny Ramirez being cut, does that leave an open hole in the offensive lineman position?
It depends. Ramirez just wasn't necessarily a good fit here as he was out in Denver. You still have guys like Laken Tomlinson as your center. Travis Swanson as your center. Laken Tomlinson and Larry Warford as your guards. Even though they had, especially in Warford's case, had unproductive 2015 seasons as well. I'm not tired. I could definitely see holes in this team's offensive line that you need to fix. They probably seem to get on the ball rolling with that since they did sign former Atlanta Falcons tackle Lamar Holmes this past month. So we'll see how that move works out for you. So yeah, there's definitely really, if anything, like I mentioned before, anything that needs fixing for this offense, it is the offensive line. The Lions put an effort in trying to turn that weakness into a strength. Didn't work out so well. A for effort, D on results, I would say. But they're not giving up on it. They realize the weaknesses that's there, and they're going to try their best to fix it again. But I just hope they don't pay too much attention to it. That they gloss over other weaknesses that need attention to fixing as well, primarily on the defensive side of things. Because guess what? Like I knew this defense was going to suffer the moment that Dominican Sue walked out the door, and we saw the results. So, you can have Terrell Austin there as the defensive coordinator all you want. If you don't have enough players around him, that defense is going to be mediocre to bad. So you need to get as much talent as you possibly can. So whether it be drafting a Miles Jack, drafting a Robert Nkemdiche, or signing a Corbin Finnegan or Von Miller, improve this defense. You're seeing other teams like the Tigers with their bullpen issues, what the Pistons have done, not just on this trade deadline day, but throughout the tenure of Stan Van Gundy and Jeff Bowles as well.
Which we'll get later. Which we'll get to later on.
Yeah, that's a nice preview right there for you, right there, folks. So the Lions, if they can see what that model, how it's working out, or hopefully will work out, and get on their own course of action, that'll be great to see.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing in terms of the Lions, nose tackle Haloti Ngata plans to play in 2016 after mulling retirement. He is going to talk with the Lions soon. I think that Haloti Ngata has a chance of coming back to the Lions, staying with the Lions, in other words. That's about it. What say you?
Yeah, listen. He's still a recognizable name. I guess primarily at this point in his career, he is hopefully used with his size, the way he's positioned, primarily to be a run stopper. He's never really going to get to the quarterback that much anymore. He only had 2.5 sacks last year. It helps to have a guy like that on your depth chart because it really, gives you one less position or one less body to worry about. All you need is another young, reliable defensive tackle to plug in next to him, and boom, there it is. You have your interior essentially taken care of, while you have other guys, like I mentioned before, Devin Taylor, Ziggy Ansah, who can roam free on the ends. If he leaves, it's not necessarily a hole because, like I said, he really didn't perform that well last year. And if he retires, good for him. I'm sure he's made enough money. He's got his own foundation, and he's at a young enough age, 32, where his brain hopefully hasn't been affected by too many bouts of trauma and whatnot, where he can still walk away under his own power. So good for him in either case.
All right, with all Lions material covered, we switch to the Red Wings. The Red Wings got pounded by the Pittsburgh Penguins 6-3 at Consol Energy. The Red Wings got pounded by the Pittsburgh Penguins 6-3 at Consol Energy Center. Peter Mrazek gave up 5 goals again and got pulled at 6:26 into the third period after giving up that 5th Penguins goal. Phil Kessel's second of the game. And Jimmy Howard, since then, stopped all the shots he faced, obviously. I think that Howard's only off to a great start from to break his slump, his long slump. It was the first time Mrazek was pulled for Jimmy Howard, like this season. Probably the first time at all this season Mrazek has been pulled at some point in the game for Jimmy Howard, who actually stopped all the shots he faced, which is a first. That could be a confidence builder for Jimmy Howard as he tries to bounce back from his bottomless drought. The Red Wings, according to Prashant Iyer on Twitter at Iyer_Prashant, were using their top line for too long. That's Abdelkader, Datsuk, and Zetterberg. Justin Abdelkader, Pavel Datsuk, and Henrik Zetterberg. They were at around the 20-minute ice time range. Like, they were like tired and things like that. Dylan Larkin and Tomas Tatar played around 19 and 18 minutes, something like that. But what's really strange is younger players like Andreas Athanasiou, taking a look at the chart, and Tomas Jurko, who scored one of the goals, got under 10 minutes of ice time, which is not right. Tatar actually got around 1450 something minutes, 1452 or something like that. Darren Helm got Darren Helm played like around 13 to 16 minutes of ice time. This is the entire chart for the entire season for Detroit forwards, not defensemen, forwards. That also includes Drew Miller and Johan Franzen, who are both out with an injury for the rest of the season. But Athanasiou's been on the ice with the Red Wings a few times before. I think Athanasiou should be given more ice time. Same for Tomas Jurko. Jeff Moss tweeted to Prashant Iyer. He quoted his tweet that he quoted Detroit Red Wings tweet, Jurko, saying that Jurko should get 8 more minutes in this game. And then I also find out that the Pittsburgh Penguins forecheck has done a sensational job, according to Prashant Iyer. The Red Wings were trying to do it all with their top line of late, wondering if fatigue eventually catches up. The Red Wings were probably playing one of the worst neutral zone games in a long time. Prashant Iyer tried but failed to pull some of the clips of Pittsburgh's zone exits because the game was on NBCSN. And additionally on Fox Sports Detroit with Ken Daniels and Darren Elliott. The Wings were sloppy with low to high coverage and a lot of miscommunication and no adaptation to the Pittsburgh forecheck. The alternative is that this Wings team is far worse than we thought and just had exceptional goaltending. And he said, Pittsburgh is going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm so impressed with their overall team game right now.
And that's saying something considering how great the Capitals and the Rangers have been this regular season.
Yeah. He also tweeted the Red Wings are making zero adjustments. He also tweeted the Red Wings are making zero adjustments right now to a few hours ago to Pittsburgh's forecheck and zone breakout, getting destroyed because of it. That was the tweet that I was looking for from Prashant Iyer. Pittsburgh forecheck has done a sensational job of stifling the Red Wings breakout in the second period. Same issue with low to high coverage. Yurko starts to try and leak out to the point and gets burned on that fourth goal in the second period. The defense and the goaltending from Mrazek were horrible tonight. There was no doubt about that. Jimmy Howard stood tall and kept the Red Wings. It gave the Red Wings a chance to climb back into this one. They cut the lead to 5-3, but then their power play absolutely fizzled as they pulled Howard for an empty net in the sixth skater, Luke Glendening. And their power play unit failed to convert, and then almost a minute later, Sidney Crosby scored an easy empty net goal from the red line to make it 6-3, and that was the final. Like Prashant Iyer said, the Wings have to come up with a lot of adjustments on how to improve against the Ottawa Senators and the New York Rangers. They play them both at 7 on Saturday and Sunday, both on the road in Ottawa and then at Madison Square Garden. Red Wings and Senators on FSD and then Red Wings Rangers on Fox Sport, on Red Wings Rangers on NBCSN. Aubrey just commented that the Wings had better hope Mrazek gets on another hot streak or they might miss the playoffs.
I agree with that to some extent. This was just not a good night, period. Part of that was on the defense. Even Moss had retweeted a comment from the fake Jerry Green news account, which was doing some slight sarcasm to how quote-unquote loose Detroit's defense is, which was basically an understatement. It's troubling to see. From a Mrazek standpoint, the performances that he's had now up till now were quite brilliant, and now seeing him second time in a row or second time in the third game where he's given up this 5 goals. Excuse me. So maybe it could be an issue of Mrazek. He much like the top line of Zetterberg, Abdelkader, and Datsuk. Maybe fatigue's catching up a little bit as it does to everyone. So maybe Mrazek does need his rest in between games, which is why, unfortunately, they have to resort to Jimmy Howard in certain situations. But seeing what Howard did tonight, like you mentioned before, Taylor, this could be a potential motivation / confidence booster for him. And if and when he gets his next start, he could probably use this to help spur him on, turn in a better performance. And like I said, give him more opportunities while Mrazek gets a chance to rest here and now and then, leading up to potentially if and when the Wings make the playoffs. But really, that not only does that apply to goaltending, it applies to some of the lineup changes. Anthony Athanasiou, seeing what he did tonight and seeing what he's done collectively as a whole, if you look at some of his numbers all year, I definitely agree with Prashant Iyer. He needs more time on the ice, especially when you got guys like Brad Richards taking up all the time and giving you virtually zero production in exchange. So how about you take a guy that is giving you production but hasn't had much ice time, boost it up a little bit, see how that works out.
You just mentioned Brad Richards not producing. Anthony Ciotti on Twitter labeled him a corpse for that, and I agree.
Definitely. I mean, he's had a game here or two where he gave you a goal, gave you a couple assists, but that's about it. Whereas Anthony Athanasiou, maybe he had scored another point after this tweet, but he had now has 4 full-strength points in just over 95 minutes of full-strength time. That works out about an average of 2.5 points per full 60 minutes of all regulation that he plays. That's the same amount as Dylan Larkin, and we've seen how Larkin has been killing it for you. So, and again, Athanasiou's full-strength points, it equals the combined total efforts of Drew Miller and Joakim Anderson, okay? And we know how bad they are. So if you're seeing the comparison between one guy and what he's done versus 1, 2, maybe even 3 guys, maybe you need to give that one just a little bit more time on the ice. Not a crazy concept.
That's right. That's right. You gotta make those moves. You gotta give Athanasiou and Yurko more ice time and lessen Brad Richards' ice time. They were playing without Nicholas Kronwall and Jonathan Ericsson, which was actually good news. But the rest of the defense just didn't do their job. I had to vote Danny DeKeyser the best defenseman on the Red Wings right now on Prashant Iyer's poll question on Twitter. Again, you can follow,
which isn't necessarily saying much concerning what this team has at its depth and talent at the defenseman position. But it's not saying much, unfortunately.
Right.
That's like saying what's the cleanest looking turd at the end of a toilet bowl?
Jonathan Ericsson. Oh, he's one of them. Brendan Smith is the other. Kronwall's the other. Smith is a third. Speaking of Brendan Smith, we're going to get to him in just a minute. Looking at the standings right now, it's very tight in the Eastern Conference. The Red Wings still at 67 points after losing 2 straight in regulation, 1 in Brooklyn and then 1 in Pittsburgh. 29, 20, and 9. Third place in the Atlantic Division. The Penguins are now tied with the Tampa Bay Lightning for the wild card spots at 66 points, just 1 behind the Red Wings and Islanders at 67 points each. Islanders 30, 19, and 7. Penguins 29, 19, and 8. Lightning 31, 22, and 4. They beat the Winnipeg Jets 6-5 in a 5-round shootout. The shootout was 2-1, by the way. The New York Rangers have 72 points. That's one of their upcoming opponents at Madison Square Garden. They're 33, 19, and 6. A should-win game for the Red Wings in Ottawa. Senators are 27, 26, and 6 with 60 points. They are in 6th place in the wild card. And fifth place in the Atlantic Division. Fifth place in the Atlantic Division, and in the conference, 11th place. The Red Wings should beat the Senators in Ottawa, and they have to keep up with the playoff race. Right now, the Red Wings are the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. The Islanders, the New York Islanders, own the tiebreaker with a better record.
So basically, like you mentioned, you got a should win versus versus Ottawa, and a must win against the Rangers. Usually, 7-8 times out of 10, when you have a should and a must, you're probably going to end up on the split end of a 1-1 split. Try to take care of business as much as you can against Ottawa. Don't try to strain or be too strenuous against this team, and go all out against a team like the Rangers. They have a hell of a goaltender in Lundqvist. That goes without saying. So if you manage to sneak one or two behind him, that's a minor victory in and of itself. But really, you got to make sure that Mrazek is up to snuff here. Hope he's not too affected either mentally or physically by what's going on with him lately. But he's got to be better. Period. Because you cannot, if you get to the playoffs, you cannot go the postseason limping on a note the way your goaltending and defense has been. So that's got to shape up. That's got to get better in spades, especially by the time you face a team like the Rangers. So, the more games you win, the more points you earn, which of course will keep you out of that wild card bubble. But I would also like to be on the receiving end of a first round matchup for once, where I'm the home team and I have the opportunity to have Game 7 at my building. So if the Wings can get to a 4 seed by the end of the season, that would be very nice to see. It's still within range, still reasonable, but they can't keep having too many performances like this. Otherwise, it could cost them down the road.
Well, in terms of the Senators and Rangers matchups, the way Mrazek has been slumping as of late, he's given up 10 goals in his last 2 starts. Him being pulled in Pittsburgh previously, the last game, and the way Jimmy Howard has been the way Jimmy Howard played in Pittsburgh after giving up 4 goals in Brooklyn, Howard's confidence maybe boosted a little bit. I think give Howard just a slow progression by giving him a start in Ottawa and then giving Mrazek an extra day of rest before starting him in net against Henrik Lundqvist and the Rangers. Wouldn't you say?
That's exactly the line thing I was about to say. Good point, picking up on that. Definitely, this one the Ottawa game seems to be the more easier of the two coming up. So yeah, take your chances. Try to roll with Jimmy Howard on that one. See if his confidence has been boosted by his appearance against the Penguins. And if it builds up, they can leave more starts for him to be essentially out of the doghouse bit by bit if he's putting up impressive performances, or at least good to adequate / decent performances. And with Mrazek, like you said, give him an extra day of rest, give him some time to clear his mind or whatever the hell's bothering him, because we're going to need him at full tilt when we play against the Rangers. So this extra day of rest would be good for him.
Absolutely. So with all the Red Wings material out of the way, we transition to basketball.
Left sideline, 3, and he answers.
The Pistons have made another trade, sending Joel Anthony and a protected 2016 conditional first-round draft pick to the Houston Rockets for power forward Donatas Motiejunas and shooting guard Marcus Thornton. I have not pulled out their profiles yet, but most people like that trade just about as much as they like the Brandon Jennings and Ersan Ilyasova for Tobias Harris trade involving the Orlando Magic. Kinda. But going to NBA.com, search that on my Firefox here. Okay, I'm on NBA.com. Where the heck is it? But I can go to Pistons.com to search that. Well, I got the article from Keith Langlois. Marcus Thornton is less than a building block himself, but an instant offense guy who offers immediate help for the final 28 games. Donatas Motiejunas. Yeah, Motiejunas is a 7-footer with a deft shooting touch who can score inside as well. I think the Pistons have found another tall guy that can get rebounds, block shots. In Donatas Motiejunas. He's another big guy that could be that third guy alongside Aaron Baines and Andre Drummond, working defensively and offensively in the lane, just gobbling up those rebounds. But the way Aaron Baines says bobbling his rebounding attempts and losing the ball out of bounds so many times, which is irritating. I think the Pistons need Donatas Motiejunas as much as they needed Tobias Harris.
Yeah, with Motiejunas as well as Harris, it essentially helps you fix a glaring problem, which is help in the front court, because Andre Drummond can't do it by himself. You give yourself offensive production with Motiejunas, because he's a tall dude. He's 7 foot tall, but he has a good shot on him. He's developed his 3-point shooting game, where as a rookie it was just under 30%. Now currently, granted he hasn't taken that many shots, but he currently has 3-point percentage of just over 40. So that has improved. That facet of his game has improved. With his length, of course, he's going to help you out, not just snatching rebounds, but blocking shots near the perimeter. But he's essentially as stretchy of a stretch 4 as you can get. I've seen that now with some teams nowadays. I call it the post-Chris Bosh renaissance. We saw how Miami was able to utilize that to good/great success, especially when it didn't help. It also didn't hurt when LeBron James was there also. But Chris Bosh, as a stretch 4, not only giving you good size in the post or good length in the post, but also pick and pop and drain a shot from outside range or even 3-point range at a moment's notice. So we're seeing that with Motiejunas. He can give you good shooting from perimeter/3-point range. He also has the length to help you out defensively in terms of snatching up rebounds. Whereas Tobias Harris has that size where he can, get dirty in the paint, body through, and really make the gritty, I guess you could say, gritty grabs for the ball in tight situations. Marcus Thornton, on the other hand, you say he could, if healthy. That's the thing here. He has good potential, but his weakness has been his health. If he can stay healthy, he can be a great asset off the bench. That's what I've seen the Pistons done with these moves in the span of a couple of days. Granted, they didn't get that backup point guard that they wanted in terms of trying to replace Brandon Jennings. So that means we're going to be stuck with Steve Blake for a little while. But on the positive end, it assures you better production off the bench because, 2 of these 3 guys, Thornton guaranteed, but either Harris or Motiejunas they're going to spend some time on the bench, coming off the bench, and to help produce. That alone should help ensure you better production, definitely defensively, but also offensively from your second unit. Because before Brandon Jennings had got healthy, there wasn't really much to rely on in terms of your second unit coming in, which will lead to a reliance of leaving in some of your starters too long just to stay in some games. Now when you have Marcus Thornton, Monty Eunice, Tobias Harris, you can have different versatility, different range, different depth to go to key situations. At the Hackett Drummond, if they start pulling out the Hackett Drummond, okay, hey, here's Aaron Baines, here's Monty Eunice. If Marcus Morris needs some time, okay, put in Marcus Thornton. Same thing with Tobias Harris also. It works out so well. The Pistons have done a remarkable job. Front office, Dave Van Gundy, Jeff Miles, they deserve a lot of credit here. Because not only have they taken care of what they need for short term this season, it really helps them out in terms of what they need to do for off season. Because some of the players, the needs essentially that they wanted / needed, they had filled. They've virtually taken care of all of them right here and there. Only a couple of things you might want to take care of now is finding a reliable backup point guard. They can easily do that in the off season, especially now with the current contracts that they have. They just got rid of 2 expiring contracts with Ilya Silva and Brandon Jennings. So they're going to have most of their needs already filled out by the time they hit the offseason, as well as some extra cash on the go. So this is as close to a win-win as you could possibly get for the Pistons this trade deadline. I easily give them, not an A+, because not all trade deadlines can be perfect. Very rarely do you hit it out of the park. But I'm between an A- sort of thing, so I'll give them an A-.
Marcus Thornton is averaging 10 points per game, 2.4 rebounds per game, and 1.4 assists per game. Whereas Donatas Motiejunas is averaging 5.6 points per game, 2.1 rebounds per game, and 1 assist per game. Thornton's pie is 9%. Motiejunas' pie is 60. Motiejunas' pie is 6.3%. Not much offense averaged by Motiejunas, but plenty by Thornton average thus far this season.
Thornton can help you with the offense, and Motiejunas can help you with the defense.
That is correct. So the Pistons will return to action when they go to Verizon Center and play the Washington Wizards at 7 on Fox Sports Detroit. The Wizards are 24-28, and the Wizards are 24-28 in 10th place in the Eastern Conference, behind the 9th place Pistons at 27-27. The Wizards picked up Marcus Morris's brother, Markieff Morris, in a trade with the Phoenix Suns a few hours earlier.
So we'll be seeing once again a Morris Twins reunion of sorts. We saw it earlier when the Pistons played the Suns. Now we get to see Marcus play his brother again, only this time his brother's going to be wearing a different jersey. That's quite unique to see this year, for sure. Very rare, I think, that does something like that ever happen, if often, if ever.
Yeah, the Wizards also have John Wall out there. He's another player to watch. But it's going to be a tight game, but I think the Pistons should come out with a victory. Use Motiejunas, Thornton, and Harris with the rebounding more and the defense more. And I think the Pistons will hold the Wizards down to like at least 80 points and come up with almost 100.
I could see this one being close. I could see Washington scoring 90 because John Wall's a very explosive player in spots. So there's ways that he can get the ball rolling for this team. So it's going to come down to the defense making stops late and your offense making free throws, which of course would mean you probably have to keep Andre Drummond off the floor in those situations. But that means other players are going to have to step up too. So this is a winnable game. In terms of going by record, you would think Detroit's the better team, if by only a little slight margin. But I could definitely see this going down to the wire because what? It's on the road. The Pistons have been doing quite too well on the road as of late. So, hey, if they win, I could see it by about a good 5 to 7 point margin. If not, then they just made too many mistakes and got off to a slow start. So there's multiple ways this game could go, but coming off the All-Star break and now these new pieces placed and set in, I'd like to see the team get things off on a positive note and let everybody know that they are serious for a possible playoff run this year. So I'd say Detroit has a good shot at winning this game more than they do lose it.
And then on Sunday, they play the Atlanta Hawks at the Palace, back at home at 3:30 on Fox Sports Detroit. The Hawks are 31-24 in fourth place in the Eastern Conference. Also, let me see here, the division standings. They are in first place in the Southeast Division, obviously. But the Pistons are going to have their hands full at home against Al Horford and Kyle Korver and company.
Yeah, that would definitely be the tougher game. Very, very similar to what the Red Wings are going to be experiencing themselves. You got an easy / winnable game, even though it's on the road. In this instance, for the Pistons against the Wizards. And then you follow up with a game against a tougher opponent, an opponent that has higher aspirations, maybe, than what your team currently has. You could say New York has when you use comparison, the Rangers have thoughts of possibly going to get it back to the Stanley Cup final. They were just there 2 years ago. And the Hawks want to get back to the Eastern Conference final. They were just there last year, but they want to improve upon that. So, very interesting dynamic between our two Detroit sports teams here. I could see a case where, hey, you have a should win and a must win. Usually, you go 1-1. You split them both. But if things work out well, I would say it wouldn't work. The new additions, it won't work instantly. You need time to gel that in, get accustomed to new teammates, new schemes, how everything rolls and how everything runs. But if things work out the way we hope it should, these type of moves are going to be what helps get Detroit into the playoffs. But we're going to see that down the road when they win more and more games, hopefully down the stretch. So I could say, you know what? Part of me believes they'll probably lose against Washington, but then somehow come back and win against Atlanta. Hold on. Are you sure they're playing Atlanta? I believe, from what I'm looking at ESPN, looks like they're playing the Pelicans on Sunday, not the Hawks. So really, if that's true, you have two winnable games back to back, and really your tough test comes the day after on the 22nd, where you go to Cleveland to play LeBron James and the Cavaliers. So really, you have a good time now to get accustomed to your new players, your new pieces, your new acquisitions by winning two very, very easy winnable games. One of them is at home, so make use of that because you got to go to Cleveland on the 22nd to take on the Cavs. Damn it!
Yeah, you're right. They play the Pelicans. I need to make a correction for my my sports update here. Thank you very much. Anthony Davis, key player, but the Pistons got smashed in their previous meeting in New Orleans. Just a very unacceptable loss. But with their new players on the team, I think the Pistons should play a lot better against New Orleans. And then on Monday, the Cleveland Cavaliers come into town at 7 o'clock. Oh, wait, the Cleveland Cavaliers welcome the Detroit Pistons into Quicken Loans Arena at 7 o'clock. So this is a very tough matchup here. The Pistons are on the road. They play LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kevin Love as well. Anderson Varejao got traded, I think, to the Magic, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I remember hearing something about the Cavs being involved in some sort of 3-team deal. Don't know who they got in return.
Oh, wait.
Who they traded.
Wait a minute. Varejao, I think, now plays for the Blazers now. The Trailblazers, Portland Trailblazers. It was a 3-team trade.
Let's see. They got Channing Frye in exchange for Varejao.
Oh, where did Varejao go to? Either the Magic or the Blazers. I'm pretty sure it was the Blazers.
I think. Let's see. No, Varejao. Yeah, Varejao went to Portland.
Yep,
and
I nailed it.
And Frye came to Cleveland, but a third team was also involved. It was the Orlando Magic, and Jared Cunningham went to Orlando.
All right. Yeah, so without Varejao, the Cavaliers are -1 key rebounder. They still got Kyrie Irving, J.R. Smith for the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2 more players to watch. The Cavaliers are pretty much a unit. But it's no wonder they're 39-14 in first place in the East. Just dominating.
Yeah, they lose Varejao, but you still got Timothy Mozgov and you still got Tristan Thompson, especially in Thompson's case, terrific, outstanding rebounders. We really saw that when both guys had to step up in Kevin Love's absence during the playoffs last year. So the Detroit will definitely have their hands full, not just dealing with the shooting and athletic capabilities of a LeBron James or a Kyrie Irving, but also on the rebounding front, and you got to deal with the 2-headed monster known as Mozgov and Thompson.
Yep. Yeah, Tristan Thompson. Yeah, he's another player to watch. Yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers have all sorts of great players, and you mentioned their names. So, an easy schedule followed by a tough game this entire weekend for the Pistons. We'll look forward to those games as well. Speaking of basketball, we transition to college hoops.
Valentine for the win!
The Michigan State Spartans hold off the Wisconsin Badgers 69-57. MSU was ranked 8th going into that contest, and they won. Denzel Valentine, 27 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. Bryn Forbes, 17 points. Aaron Harris with 10. Wisconsin never had the lead, although MSU's defense let them make it a little interesting from the end of the first half to the beginning of the second half. MSU's defense still did their job, holding them to 57 points, but their offense, though, pretty much struggled. Their 69 points matched their lowest score this season on January 2nd this year at Minnesota. They had trouble with their offensive rebounding. They had trouble hitting shots, especially from in a span where they were stuck at 32 points for a few minutes through halftime. But they still got enough to win, and their defense was able to get the job done.
Yeah, the defense was key. You know, if you have great defense, you can skate by on good to above average offense. This was certainly the case, especially when Nigel Hayes, the guy, Nigel Hayes, the junior forward for the Badgers, he scored 25 points the last time he faced the Spartans. But in tonight's game, he was just dreadful. He was 1 of 13 from the floor, only had 5 points, and that was mostly due to the fact he had a 6'10" pogo stick on him by the name of Deontay Davis. He basically shut Hayes down was on him like white on rice the entire night, essentially, and that was a huge part of this game. But also, not just that, but the absolute brilliance, the showcasing of Denzel Valentine. This guy showed why a lot of people considered him a possible Wooden Award candidate before his injury, and why he's a potential lottery pick this upcoming summer. Not just good to great scoring, but great sense of sharing the ball and awareness of when to share and when to shoot. He had himself a hell of a game. This was the third straight game in which he had 20 more points and 10 or more assists. So that's 3 straight double-doubles for a point guard. He almost messed around and got himself a triple-double. That's how good he was. He also showcased the way he was sharing the ball, got others involved, made the team look better. You got Bryn Forbes, who's starting to come into his own. You know, he had his breakout game against Michigan. He had 17 points tonight on 4 threes. So you combine Davis's defense, the shooting of Forbes, and the all-around aspect of what Valentine is doing and has done and possibly will continue to do. This is an MSU team now. You're fully seeing they're performing at their true potential. Regardless of the record or what they're currently standing in the Big Ten Conference, we know how Izzo does in March. We know how he does on his tournament runs. They were correct me if I'm wrong, they were in the Final Four last year. So it wouldn't be surprised me if they make another deep run again this year, especially when you have the talent that's there. You have the senior leadership from your point guard, as not just Valentine, but Costello as well. You're showcasing great defense all around, and you have other role key players, side players, coming in and contributing. That's the mark of a great team, the mark of a championship team. Also, when you have a great, outstanding coach in Tom Izzo, that helps as well. So all these components are coming together at the right time for MSU may lead a lot of experts and folks with opinions to pencil them in as a possible dark horse to make a Final Four run this year.
The Spartans go to Ohio State, Columbus, Ohio, and play the Buckeyes Tuesday at 9 on ESPN. They play Thad Matta and company. In case we get episode 199 delayed here, which is regularly scheduled for Monday at 12:30. In case you get really tired like you were last Monday. Going to be an interesting matchup between the green and white and the scarlet and gray.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where really it helps weed out the rest of the pack in terms of Big Ten Conference standings, because what we saw tonight with Minnesota upsetting Maryland, that just basically opened the door for a lot of other teams and scenarios, because you're talking from Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, MSU, Purdue, Michigan, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. That's 8 teams, and within those 8 teams, they're all separated by only 2.5 games in the win-loss column. Maryland has sole possession of third place, followed by an absolute logjam at 5th spot. 4 teams tied for 5th. Michigan State, Purdue, the Wolverines, and the Buckeyes, and Wisconsin at 2.5 back. So they're not out of this race either. So it's quite good. I mean, it's got to be absolutely shocking, because remember, Minnesota had 0 conference wins coming into the night. So to say this was an upset was an understatement. So it now opens up the door for not just the Spartans to possibly get back in the Big Ten Conference chase, but also maybe win another regular season Big Ten title. Leaves things open for the Wolverines as well.
And speaking of the Wolverines,
For 3, yes, sir!
they play at number 6 Maryland Sunday at 1 on CBS. The Terrapins got upset by the Minnesota Golden Gophers 68-63 in Minneapolis a few hours ago on Thursday night. It'll make the matchup between the Wolverines and the Terrapins a little bit more interesting, because Michigan upset Purdue 61-56 at home earlier this week.
it's going to make things interesting for sure, because now we're going to see how does Maryland respond. Will they be motivated, or will this be such a mental shock to them that it'll, force them into a shell of sorts, and it'll affect them so much that it could allow Michigan to possibly pick up a big win of their own. Because if they beat Maryland, it puts them back in the thick of things. It has them tied. It gives them the tiebreaker over Maryland, because they will have special season series, and gets them right around that top 5, top 4 range in terms of standing-wise in the Big Ten. So, yes, this is a very, very big game, not just for Maryland, but for Michigan as well. So we'll see how the Wolverines respond. We'll see if John Beilein and company study tape on how Maryland was able to execute their game plan. A little luck doesn't hurt also, but obviously Minnesota was able to do some things at least the right way, because what? They got to win. And that's the important stat that matters at the end of the day. They got the victory. So obviously it's going to come down to Michigan having much better production offensively. We're talking quality shots, move the ball well, set things up in the paint. Don't be so outmatched as you usually are on the rebounding category, and please limit the turnovers, because against a team like Maryland, if you turn the ball over, in this case, in this instance, it hurt Maryland. They turned the ball over more times than Minnesota, and that led to their defeat. So that's going to be the key for Michigan: taking care of the ball, limit the turnovers, limit the mistakes, have quality of shots, not quantity, but quality of shots, and show toughness on defense, please. Don't get embarrassed the way you did against MSU, for the love of God. And you could have yourself in a prime position to win this game, really shake things up in the conference standings, the Big Ten basketball race, and put yourself in a position to make things interesting come, as we approach the end of the season, the regular season.
The Michigan Wolverines, looking ahead, will return home after their contest at Maryland and play the Northwestern Wildcats at Chrysler Center Wednesday at 7 on BTN. We'll preview that on episode 199. Right now, it's time for 5 questions.
It's time for 5 questions with Taylor the Gator Phillips.
Question number 1. Could the Dan Dickerson, Mario, and Pimba switcheroo extend from 20 games or less?
I would say so, because I think if you expose more of the TV audience to what the radio audience currently knows, because I consider Dan Dickerson to be a very, very fine play-by-play radio broadcaster. He's done a good job of filling in the role from the late great Ernie Harwell. So this is a chance now for the TV audience to get exposed to that. If it gets positive feedback, in terms of surveys or whatnot, but also from peers. Hey, this worked out well. Let's try expanding it a little bit more. We'll see that. We'll see more of that. Could be 30 games. Could be as much as 40 games. You don't want to, tinker with it too much, but, getting more and more out there, it's going to be dependent upon whether or not, like I said, if the initial feedback warrants it. So I'd say, yeah, it's all going to come down to initial feedback and reaction from the audience.
By the way, about Ernie Harwell, he is by far my number 1 broadcaster of all time.
Next question.
Question number 2. Does Bobby Parnell have a chance to make the major leagues and provide extra bullpen help to the Tigers?
Anybody has a chance if you have, if a team considers you worthy enough, you have a chance. It's just about as anybody. He's going to make sure, just trim your whip, trim your ERA, have good control on your fastball, and yeah, you probably have a good shot as any to make the majors. It's just because, like I said, you can never have enough arms for your bullpen, and if that's the case, we could be, if he performs well enough in the minors, yeah, we might very well be seeing Parnell in a Tigers uniform or in the Old English D up on the big stage sometime in 2016. But it depends on how he looks down in the minors. It's always the first step before hitting the big leagues.
Next question.
Question number 3. What are the chances of Haloti Ngata coming back to the Lions?
I'd say about 65 to 70%. I'm sure like I said, when you see more of these players now retiring younger and younger, that's going to play at the back of your mind a little bit. So, like I said, with Nada, he has his own foundation. He's made enough money in his career where he's set financially. But if there's a part of him that still wants to play, as long as he knows exactly what he's getting into, tries to take care of himself as good as possible, then I necessarily don't have much of a problem coming back. I just need him to step up his production. That's all I ask for coming back.
Next question.
Question number 4. A lot of fans are saying, along with George Malik of the Malik Report from Kukla's Corner, are saying that they miss Jonathan Erickson and Nicholas Kronwall on the ice. But that leads to question number 4. Do the Red Wings not miss Jonathan Erickson and Nicholas Kronwall on the ice with them, since both Erickson and Kronwall are out with injuries? Erickson with a lower body injury and Kronwall with a knee injury.
Well, to an extent, because it messes up the flow of the usual lineup that you had from the start and good portions of the first half of the season. Now, when both of those guys are not there, it forces a shift in things, a shift in tone, and shift of general momentum and whatnot. Like I said, defense has not been the Wings' strong point for a few years, especially on the defenseman edge. You can trace that back to Nicholas Litzer's retirement, essentially. So it's basically gone from mediocre to flat out bad with these recent injuries. So yeah, in a sense, I would say they do miss at least one, if not both, of the players. Probably more towards Kronwall, but that's not saying anything regarding this unit and this defensive unit as a whole.
Yeah, they certainly don't miss Erickson though, because he's just a turnover machine. He's afraid to block the puck. He's just like everything bad, except he scored that one goal against the Colorado Avalanche last Friday, but which is not going to help much. He's only got 2 goals this season. He doesn't produce, he doesn't block shots, and he keeps turning the puck over, and that's just a major menace to this Red Wings roster, to this organization.
Next question.
Now, question number 5: has Pistons general manager Jeff Bauer made good enough trades, along with the head coach and president of basketball operations Stan Van Gundy? If not, who did they miss out on?
Really, if they want to nitpick it, they just missed out trying to get a reliable backup point guard. Would have been a DJ Augustine or Randy Foy or Jameer Nelson, those type of players. They just missed out on them. Maybe they'll address that more in the offseason, as well as getting a more sustainable another power forward in there, because you can basically have your own 3-headed monster in the ways at the 4 spot, the way Cleveland does have now. You got Kevin Love, you got Timothy Mozgov, and you got Tristan Thompson. Maybe the Pistons could try to replicate that here. They already have Tobias Harris. Now they just added Monty Eunice. Why not in the offseason, especially since they'll probably have a little bit more money on them? Maybe try to go after Ryan Anderson. We've heard murmurs of, hey, maybe the Pistons were possibly intrigued of landing him before the trade deadline. They decided to stay put. But if they want to inquire about, getting his talents over here, getting over to Detroit, hey, go for it. Depth, perception, as well as, more added talent to help out your whole roster entirely. So I can see them going that route as well. It's really on 2 things that they probably should be their need of focus in this offseason: finding a reliable backup point guard and possibly trying to go after Ryan Anderson, as well as taking care of other things. Andre Drummond's max contract being one of them, but that'll be worked out in fine detail without any major problem. So again, whatever minor nitpicks that they couldn't get done here, I have full confidence they'll be able to take care of in the offseason.
And that wraps up 5 questions for all the listeners and fans out there. If you want to answer those questions, just replay the episode and answer them in the comment bank below this episode. That wraps up episode 198 of the Detroit Sports Truth. Ed, thanks so much again for your help on another lengthy episode. I'll talk to you Monday at 12:30 if you're not drained out for episode 199.
Looking forward, Taylor. Good night. Enjoy the weekend, and stay safe, folks, in listener land.
And for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. If there's anything you fans want more of or less of on our podcast, please let us know. We will be back Monday at 12:30 if we're not delayed for episode 199 on Spreaker. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.
Bon appétit.